I've given up hope, not entirely, because I'm scrolling through practice squads across the NFL today. So I'm still trying to find a solution up front in the offensive line in the receiver room. Let's start with like a little wide receiver talk. Is that good with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
What can they do to upgrade that room, Keegan?
Throw to the guys you have on your roster. And I teased this with George earlier. He talked about let's look at some outside, bring some guys in maybe. Maybe try throwing to the guys that you actually have on the team.
Let's scheme them open first and give them shorter routes. Not deep developing. Can we do that, AVP?
We're running 4 verts on every play all of a sudden. Alex Van Pelt thinks this is Madden 06, and he's got Michael Vick as his quarterback. It's not going to happen. Jalen Polk is a slot receiver. Mario Douglas is a slot receiver. KJ Osborne at his best is a slot receiver. Kendrick Bourne, when he comes back, is a slot receiver. What do you do with slot receivers? You run them on intermediate routes. You run them on short routes. Crossers. You scheme them open. You get them the ball in space, and you try to make something happen. The Patriots haven't done that for a second this season. At least try that before you go out and make more moves. They've done a lot of practice squad shuffling. Obviously, Jalen Reagor, after making a stupid Instagram post, gets cut. But they're bringing in a bunch of guys, a lot of bigger guys. Obviously, they need to find somebody at the X. You have options in the building already. Let's cycle through those first before we start bringing in more.
I'm over Tyquan Thornton, though. I
agree with that 100%. And I don't think it really has a ton to do with him as a football player.
Oh, it is.
He was put in a bad spot. Let's call it what it is. He never should have been a second-round pick in the first place.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know if he should have been drafted. I think that's hyperbole.
Yeah, maybe a bit much.
He's a burner at Baylor. He can run a really good straight line. He should have been put in a situation where an offensive line can protect it and a quarterback can get him the ball, where you could at least be honest and keep a defense honest, and where they have to respect that. And that helps open everything intermediately before Mel Kiper has a conniption to cover 2 high safeties.
Too deep. It's a scary thought.
Right? Oh, my gosh. I just bring that up because I go back to last year, the flashes of seeing him run a slant on like 3rd down and just an awful release off the line of scrimmage trying to get loose from a corner. We see him running routes. He's in key situations. Like we saw him week 1, disappear week 2 and all that. This offense can't support a wide receiver like Tyquan Thornton. It takes too long for him to get open. He's too deep downfield, and the offensive line won't give time. Jacoby Brissett has one of the longest times to throw on average in the NFL, but that's a lot of him buying himself time.
Right.
I'm over him. I kid you not. I'm looking at practice squads today. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know how he resulted here. Donovan Peoples-Jones, it's worth a look.
Yeah.
It's worth a try at this point. He's on the Lions practice squad. Bring him in. See what we could get. I know there's a case of the drops. He's not the best route runner, but it's someone on the perimeter that does make tough contested catches. If no one's getting open, and whenever you put Drake Maye in, you're going to have to say, hey, just throw it to the X right there. 1, 2, 3, boom, go. At least the guy can make contested catches. Doesn't get open that often, but he can make contested catches. I'd rather have him on the active roster than a Tyquan Thornton.
That's how you know it's bad when you want players who can't get open. Give me that receiver who can't get open. I want to see that guy play football.
That's where I'm at.
It's tough.
I'm trying not to look at the draft yet, Keegan.
Yeah.
What I would say outside of him, and I think it's opening up, Tee Higgins is unlikely to be a Cincinnati Bengal next season.
Right.
You floated this, and I do love this convo. Like, they should trade for him.
Yeah.
It would take 2 day 2 picks. You could do separate years, whatever the combination may be. Let's say they give up this year's 2nd and next year's 4th. Awesome. The Patriots have 2 third-round picks. They could come out with the top 3 pick, draft Kelvin Banks out of Texas. Really good outside zone, long arms. Elliott Wolf loves long-armed tackles. Spoke about with Vidarian Lowe. Check that box. With your 2 thirds, you trade back up into the 2nd, and that's when you draft Trey Harris, 6'3" out of Ole Miss. Likes it over the middle, lives on the outside as well, big play receiver. A dynamic outside guy, I won't say solidified number 1, but brings a different wrinkle to this offense you don't have. And then you have Tee Higgins with Pop Douglas, with Jalen Polk, with Kendrick Bourne. We'll see what he has left. Now I'm talking. Now that's a receiving room. Trey Harris could be your 2 behind Tee Higgins. Tee Higgins has a big receiver himself as well. You give up 2 day 2 picks. It makes sense, especially as the Bengals. They need to look themselves in the mirror. Go, we have Burrow. We need to extend Chase. We think we have our tackles.
Yep.
This defense is god-awful. We need to get better in the middle at the meat, and our secondary stinks. We need to figure that out. How do you do that? Get more draft picks, 2nd and a 4th round pick for Cincy.
Yeah, I think we're a few weeks away from the Tee Higgins conversation. I do like the Tee Higgins conversation because, You grab him for the stretch run, you get him used to this offense, and then you kind of unleash him in year 2 after you sign him to an extension, of course.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I just want to see, what can Javon Baker do? Is Kayshon Boutte a real person?
Yes, he is. He's real.
Oh, is he?
He exists.
You wouldn't know by watching.
You would know if you had a DraftKings account. Had to.
John Giles, Matt Landers, 2 guys on the practice squad, 6'3", 6'4". John Giles is 220 pounds. Give me N'Keal Harry flashbacks. I kind of love it.
Good or bad?
You've got some options in the practice squad just in terms of like sheer size if you want to bring them in. So while we're here heading into week 4, thinking about options to kind of change things up on offense, I would like to see who they have in the building first before you move on. But there are other positions where I wholeheartedly believe they need to go pick some guys up. So we should talk about those.
Yeah. What do you think at offensive tackle?
Donovan Smith is the first person who comes to mind. He's made 57 starts in the last 4 seasons. I believe that means he's only missed 6 or 7 games, including 2 Super Bowls, both of which he won. This is watching Donovan Smith block for Tom Brady a few years ago, it was like, oh, this guy stinks. But he's doing something right, clearly, if he is the starting left tackle for 2 Super Bowl champions in the last 4 years. He's out on the open market. He's obviously on the wrong half of 30.
Yeah.
You worry about those guys a little bit, but with what the Patriots have in the building right now, I don't think you can go wrong. Charles Leno Jr., a guy who's made 47 starts in the last 3 seasons. He's only missed a few games. And then Dwayne Brown. He's 100 years old.
Literally.
I know that.
105, I think.
He made a Pro Bowl 3 years ago, and he missed a few games last year, but otherwise he's been healthy. As a 39-year-old, you bring a guy like that in. We saw the Seahawks do it last year with Jason Peters. I remembered the name myself. I didn't even have to ask. So we've seen teams do it and kind of get by just throughout the year so they can get to free agency, get to the draft, and draft their real guy. I would like to see the Patriots make a move because you can't keep cycling through these practice squad, random pickup waiver wire guys throughout the rest of the season.
Someone that's proven.
Someone who's done it before. That's all I really ask for. Donovan Smith is at the top of the list for me.
He's taken snaps at one position his entire career. 10,005 career snaps at left tackle. That's 10,000 more snaps than Caden Wallace has taken at left tackle in the NFL. Not really. You probably played whatever. But legitimately, when you look at your depth chart, that's what it's so substantial of how big of a void this is.
Yeah.
I bring it up and I bring it up and I bring it up. I don't care about that Jonah Williams deal, how rich it was. I don't care how he's performing in Arizona. Literally, I do not care.
He's hurt.
That's an actual left tackle. And who knows what happens if he's here, right?
Yeah.
He's injured. But, I'm not going to, he's hurt. So you would have known that if you brought him in. And that would have been an actual left tackle you had.
Different circumstances.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Because I could say that with bringing Donovan Smith. He'll get hurt on the second snap. No. Right?
Yeah.
They should have done that. They should have brought in an actual left tackle. And you know what? Same thing. We'll learn a lot about this team for what they do against the 49ers, Keegan. If they go out and the left tackle is still a complete liability and they don't bring anyone in from the outside, that is a reflection on the front office.
Absolutely.
That is a reflection on the stubbornness. That is a reflection on just them being so amiss to actually going out and doing what's best for the team. Trying to be steadfast in either the guys they drafted, the guys they brought in. You want to save a locker room? You bring in a vet like Donovan Smith.
Right.
Whatever shape he's in, whatever he can do, he's an actual left tackle. It's insane that I'm begging an NFL team to get an actual left tackle. And I say it that way, but I do because they don't have that on this roster. They never did.
Yeah.
They never did, Keegan.
We've seen it before where teams they have this idea in their head that they're going to develop all their talent. And time after time time, you end up having to give up because it's a danger to your quarterback, right? You want to develop Caden Wallace, and I'm not completely out on Caden Wallace as a football player for the rest of his career. I think that would be silly. He made one start. It was at a place he's never played before. It didn't go well. He got hurt. Yeah, that sucks, right? But can he be your right tackle? Can you move Mike Onwenu in to play right guard? Can you take Layden Robinson off the field and let him develop? Can you sign Donovan Smith and plug him in at left tackle where you have City So, you have David Andrews in the middle? That offensive line, to me, from an outside perspective, looks about 187,000 times better than what they're rolling out week after week after week after week with the 4th straight different left tackle. I can't stand to keep watching the turnstile. It's I made the joke last time I was on where watching competent football was refreshing.
It was.
It's incompetent football is what it is. And it's incompetent work by the front office to not address it.
It's incompetency from the front, from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's where you go when AVP goes out, we're going game plan. Like, I always chalk it up to when I see something go through, they know more than I do.
Yeah.
That's what I try to say with that Caden Wallace draft. All right, they know more than I do.
Right.
Let's see. They see something we don't. They
clearly talked to the guy before they drafted him and asked him if he was comfortable, right? It wasn't like they went out there and drafted him and they were like, hey, by the way, we know you don't want to play left tackle, but we're going to make you do it.
Or at least they see something and they spoke to him, maybe worked him out, and they said, hey, you can do it.
Absolutely. There was a reason he never played left tackle at Penn State. It's because they had a 5-star first-round pick in Olu Fashanu at Penn State that he played, he had to play on the other side. It wasn't like it was because he was incapable of doing it. You've only had 4 months to teach this guy how to play left tackle, and then you throw him out there against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Yeah, it's going to turn out the way it turned out. But this team doesn't have time right now.
Exactly.
That's why you go out and make a move.
And that's why, to your point, and they should have looked at it that way.
Yeah.
You never played left tackle at Penn State. That's fine. We see you as a future tackle depth piece on the left side. But guess what? You never took a snap there. In college, we have this vet over here. Insert Jonah Williams, insert Donovan Smith, insert Keagan Stiefel. We have them over there. So you sit back and you learn, and this will be a redshirt year, and it's fine because no, you're part of the long-term plan. But they didn't even do that. So that's why I say they know something I don't. I'm going to chalk it up to them. I'm losing that. My confidence is very thin with Ellie Wolf and the decisions they're making.